And let's just get into some of this video from earlier today. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is Elon Musk acting very dopey in the White House.
Everyone's very quiet. Well, so
You're-
people
you're-
don't.
And by the way, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'll tell you, this guy looks like he's somebody who might be on something. I can't say for sure. That's just my opinion looking at this.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing is, like, I think there people are right to suspect that Trump would get annoyed by him, but I think they're under evaluating how much Elon has given to Trump in just contributions. And that does buy something. And I think
Who's
we
quiet?
just keep that in mind.
Your detractors, Mr. Musk,
I have to what?
including a lot of Democrats,
I have detractors?
you do, sir,
I don't believe it.
say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public.
And I'll just say,
could.
just because one, you could, but also I don't remember seeing that name on my ballot when I went to vote here in Texas. Maybe it was different in South Africa or in California, but it wasn't here, right? So, like, already just the way that he's merging himself with Trump, I think people need to be very careful about how you let this guy get away with this kind of slippage.
And this is the what the conservatives like to call the bigotry of low expectations. Trump, for the first time in 20 years, secured a popular vote for Republicans. It wasn't necessarily a massive one.
Yeah,
It was just the first time that happens in our system. And frankly, there's a
century.
bunch of freaks who have been waiting for that too, frankly, because it does mean something to, I think, how corporate America reacts to these sorts of things. So, but you could ask for a bigger mandate. I'm pretty sure Barack Obama had and squandered a bigger
public
mandate.
voted, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House, we won the Senate.
Whoa.
The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for, and that's what democracy is all
that's
about.
all the bloviating I could take there. Look, I mean, it's frustrating, it's disgusting, but it's also the reality that this person is being given unprecedented access to personal information of yours, to sensitive parts of the government. But honestly, like, the privacy thing's one thing. I mean, this is somebody who, in any democracy that still had a sense of itself, right? A democracy being a government of the people, by the people, for the people, would not allow the richest person in the world to just get their dirty little hands all over our system of government. It's truly embarrassing for the country. Now, we're going to get into some of the conflicts here, some of the reasons that he's involved. But I mean, Matt, what do you make of the Musk show, right? Like, a lot of people have been wanting to see a kind of fallout between Trump and Musk. And I'm just curious, as a keen observer of this, Matt, like, what your read is on a potential rift between the two of them.
I mean, I think that was wishful thinking based on personalities, and that isn't the ultimate. Personalities aren't the ultimate deciding factor, I don't think, in politics. And billions of dollars.
Yeah.
There's been so much money spent by all these different billionaires on this guy. I mean, Elon to his to hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's ultimately who Trump is comfortable with. It's those sorts of folks. And so I think, at some point, maybe will Elon wear out his welcome? Maybe. But I even, I I do think it is, it's kind of shocking that it's Elon, I got to say, and not some sort of like how Michael Bloomberg type of figure or something like that. Like, he changed his name to Harry Balls.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, somebody who might be ingesting a few things, for sure. Now, I think it is very likely that there might be some kind of internal conflict, right? I think that one thing, Matt, about why is it Musk versus any other kind of big billionaire or something like that, is because Elon Musk has a lot of time on his hands. A lot of those other guys, they might actually do a little bit more at their companies than just sort of talk about how many hours at work that they're engaged in, right? So Musk seems to has a lot of time. I mean, I've heard Trump say in interviews like, I don't understand how he has so much time to be in Washington, D.C. and still run his companies. Just for anyone who is keeping score and wondering, all of these years when Business Insider would interview Elon Musk and he would say, oh, I just work. I just would never ending work. Yeah, the fact that he's been parading around Washington, D.C. for the past 2 months and then was just fucking off in Florida, after Trump won the election, might show you about how engaged he is into the day-to-day running of these many companies. Now, but I want to talk about a theory, and a few people I've heard sort of put this up, and I think that it's actually pretty novel, and I think that it rings true to me in a way, is that Musk. Why is Trump allowing Musk to be such a face of this administration? Right? I mean, Doge is the thing. We're not saying Trump. We're not talking about Trump. We're talking about Doge, right? Which is Elon Musk's childish government destruction program. Um, well, I think that there's an aspect to this where it's perfect for Trump because if all of this works out, the Trump administration got to do it, but also having somebody who's a very public face of a program like this, of these kind of things, makes it really easy if Musk becomes more and more unpopular in the future to say, "Oh, I never really liked that guy.
Right.
He kind of stuck around." And Musk being probably one of the most unlikable and uncharismatic figures in front of a camera. Um, Probably will help a lot if that happens. But again, I think that it's probably wishful thinking that it's necessarily going to happen. But it's a kind of perfect move for the Trump administration because hey, if it works out and everybody's happy and the markets are happy, great. If people get upset about it, it wasn't Trump, right? It was these terrible people around Trump who forced him to work with Musk.
And that's why you have senators go along with it. In a way, it's sort of why a corporation would hire McKinsey
Yeah,
to
yeah.
basically give them a rationale for doing sort of things that might be unpopular if it comes from the just head of the company itself. And yeah, but I can't get over like this National Institutes of Health thing.
Yeah.
North Dakota, two senators, John Hoeven, the banker son of a banker, and he's the smart one, Jim Cramer. Wait, Kevin Kramer. I get a mistake with the CNBC guy.
And the former
Um,
Spartacist, you know that?
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, Kevin Kramer just a big fucking idiot. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, like sub Tuberville. Um, and nonetheless, University of North Dakota in Grand Forks punches way above its weight in biomedical sciences, is probably going to be the most disproportionately affected
Totally.
Midwestern university because it last year put out a press release saying, "Hey, we're punching way above our weight, and comparatively, we're beating like Penn and all these other schools for these grants." And you know what? Fuck them. I guess now they got to, and all those grants go to like the workers and support staff. Fuck all those people. I guess. I
Mhm.
guess everyone can just go to the drone program now because I'm pretty sure Elon's not going to do anything to cut that stuff.
No, I mean it's going to be really rich. I mean, once some of these people realize that, like, oh, it was like my federal job or like my state's economy that was getting a lot of federal money that they're coming at. I mean, look, they have no conception of what it is that they're doing. It is like it raised the whole system to the ground kind of moment. I mean, the tax stuff that we're hearing that they're going to put forward. You don't even need to have an inside. You don't even have to have like an inside window into the Republican Party to know the Republicans are about to push a massive tax break. And Elon Musk's and all their kind of cuts will do very, very little particularly because they're not interested in coming at the biggest and most bloated part of the American budget. But dude, I mean, like we could sit here and complain and be upset about this. I want us to think about why things are happening the way that they are. And you wanted to talk about a very interesting thing, which is Musk's salute, right? Which I think is a very important part of this story because this again is like Musk playing trying to figure out what role he wants to play in this MAGA world. And it's going to be interesting to see, for example, if Trump, keeps him around, he's going to have to keep those people happy, right? As we talked about at the beginning of the program, people aren't particularly interested in this Gulf of America stuff, right? And how long the honeymoon lasts is still an open question. But and so Musk is going to have to do a lot of work once people start to feel the pain of what he is doing. But you saw some interesting stuff about this salute, right?
Yeah, this is a, and I do bear in mind that one of the definitions of fascism is elites in sort of awkward relationship with rabid sort of
Yeah.
folks on the ground. So this isn't entirely to exculpate Musk from the idea of being a fascist or a Nazi or whatever, but I think this is interestingly put. So for folks who can't see it, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. So this guy Philip Lowe, he's some founder, tech guy. Says he knew Elon. Um, I'm gonna skip to about halfway down here. Um, Elon believes he's above everyone else. He used to think he worked on the most important problems. When I met him, he did not presume to be a technical person. He would be the first to say he lacked the expertise to understand certain data. That happened later. Now he believes he has all the solutions. All this talk about getting to Mars to, quote, maintain the light of consciousness, or about, quote, free speech absolutism, is actually BS knowingly feeds to people to manipulate them. Everything Elon does is about acquiring and consolidating power. That is why he likes far right parties, because they are easier to control. That is why he gave himself $56 billion, which could have gone to the people who actually did the work and innovations he has taken credit for at Tesla. His lust for power is also why he did XAI and Neuralink, to attempt to compete with OpenAI and NeuroVigil, respectively, despite being affiliated with them. Unlike Tesla and Twitter, he was unable to conquer those companies and tried to create rivals. I fired him with cause in December 2021 when he tried to undermine NeuroVigil. That must be Philip's company here.
Hmm.
Elon did 2 Nazi salutes. He did them for 5 main reasons. One, he was concerned that the Nazi wing of the MAGA movement, under the influence of Steve Bannon, would drive him away from Trump somewhere in the Eisenhower office building rather than in the West Wing, which is where he wants to be. He was already feeling raw over the fact Trump did not follow his recommendation for Treasury Secretary, and that his Senate also did not pick his first choice. The Senate didn't pick his first choice. He was upset that number two, he was upset that they had to go to Israel and Auschwitz to make up for agreeing with the Nazi sympathizer online, and wanted to reclaim his power, just like when he told advertisers to go fuck yourself. This has nothing to do with Asperger's. 3, there are some Jews he actually hates. Sam Altman is amongst them. 4, he enjoys a good thrill and knew exactly what he was doing. 5, his narcissistic self was hoping the audience would reflect his abject gesture back to him, thereby showing complete control and dominion over it, and increasingly his leverage over Trump. That did not happen. Bottom line, Elon is not a Nazi, but he did give 2 Nazi salutes, which is completely unacceptable. I honestly find that 100% persuasive.
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular, it's very clear that Elon Musk has a kind of general contempt for people, and does think that he's above the rest of us.
And the chameleon thing too, like I think that guy, when he says he does this stuff to far right parties because he knows those people are easy to manipulate. I think this is also a guy who pretended to care about the environment for a while because of how it
Totally,
benefited him. Like he is absolutely a shapeshifter. I mean, he does come from South Africa. I'm sure that is not that upbringing is not entirely foreign, and it comes from Canadians who moved to South Africa in
because
like
they like
some
it.
sort of affinity with it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't want to downplay that at all, but I also think Elon is mainly for Elon on this sort of stuff.
And we're hoping to actually have some of our South African guests back on the program soon to actually talk about the way that Musk is involving America in kind of in South African politics, which I think is no small thing. That Musk, the thing about Musk is that he has a contempt for democracy, but he also very much, I think, has a contempt for American democracy. Right? He does not like that this is a country that has equality for all groups of people. He does not like the fact that this is a diverse country, right? This is why he has such an affinity for the politics, for the people, for the movements that he has surrounded himself with. And the fact of the matter that he is pushing, trying to get the U.S. government to try to involve itself in the politics of South Africa really does show not just like a kind of paranoid mind, but one that very much like views his engagement in politics as a mission to try to crush kind of social justice for people, right? And South Africa is not something far off from his mind, right? Oh, part of his origin story. It's something that he regularly concerns himself with and is trying to concern this country with as well. But
Yeah, just one quick note on that. You'd be hard pressed to find the first statement Elon Musk, or any statement Elon Musk really made about apartheid. The closest you can get is to him saying the reason he moved to America is he didn't think enforcing apartheid was a good
mhm,
use of his time, which is not exactly quoting Mandela. I'll
no.
say, even though it seems a little
Mm-mm,
bit tongue in cheek, but
mm-mm. So look, I think as far as I understand, I think that like look, and I could be like we don't know, but I can see the logic in the kind of idea that like Musk is becoming a very public face of something that Trump is doing. That is probably going to have I mean, what Musk is trying to do, by the way, there's a lot of people who are primed to benefit to it, right? It's not all random willy nilly, right? Like there's some ideological stuff because I think that he has like psychological issues and wants the admiration of certain people. I also think that like a child, he sees something on TV and he sort of wants to replicate it. I think that he is somebody who looks very weird, speaks very weird, and is very strange. Is very attracted to somebody like Millet in Argentina, and I think he saw that on the computer, and he wants to be like that. Right? There's some of this stuff that's very, very personal, right? But the fact of the matter is that personal analysis of these people is only going to get you so far. As everybody knows, like follow the money. The oligarchs and the billionaires who lined up behind Trump at the inauguration are all set up, to benefit greatly. One of the things, if you read financial press, one of the things that American capitalists are very excited about right now is this might be a new golden age of like mergers and acquisitions, right? To build what capital likes to build, by the way, which is monopolies. Right. So there's the big hope right now that more monopolies can be built, that all these pesky regulations will go away, that we can have this new bonanza, not of innovation, not of equality, hell, maybe not even probably growth for the rest of us, but a lot of personal pilfering that will go into the pockets of some of the most well off people in the world, least of which is Elon Musk. So, does Musk understand maybe that he is this kind of like risky face of this thing, that if it fails, he'll go down in flames personally, be condemned by Trump and MAGA? Who knows? Like this guy has more issues than I'm qualified to speak to. But even if he goes down and becomes persona non grata, right? There's plenty of things that Musk has benefited from. We talked about on this program, potentially Musk being able to use positions in the government to be able to maybe offload. I think David Dan wrote about this in the Prospect. Potentially offload some of his assets with a very, very steep discount on its tax. Who knows? Here are some things that are undeniably happening right now, and the New York Times actually did a very good write up on Elon Musk's businesses and where they stand to benefit here. Elon Musk's businesses empire scores benefits under Trump's shakeup. And we're getting into some of the many things that Musk has been engaged in, and we will. I suggest people read this piece. It's actually very good. But let's just look at this graph here, which is just going to highlight some of the many companies and potentials of benefit that Musk has. So, Department of Transportation, there are open regulatory battles or investigations into SpaceX for violations and fines against them.
because his satellites keep burning up and re-entering our skies.
Yep. Same thing, Starbase review with the Department of Interior. There's a DOJ investigation into SpaceX. We've talked about that on this program. NLRB, which is going to be a frequent, mention here. There's plenty of labor complaints at SpaceX. We also have at Tesla NLRB investigations, a lawsuit from the Equal Employment Opportunity Center. There are complaints from the CFPB at Neuralink. The Department of Agriculture has an active investigation, and I wonder if that has anything to do with the monkey torturing that they've been doing there. At the SEC, there's an investigation. There's a lawsuit at X from the NLRB. There's a lawsuit from the Security and Exchange Commission. And Musk personally has issues with his security clearance with the Department of Defense. There are complaints about the FCC. We talked about this on this program, the way that he was spending money and was engaged in the 2024 election are extremely dubious and potentially fraudulent. But luckily for him, Trump won, and the Biden administration was very, very worried about acting upon the very likely illegal activities that Musk was engaged in. Look, we could go down this list here, but particularly Musk is facing investigations by the FAA. This is something that he's been talking about for his activities here in Texas, where he has wreaked havoc on the local community. But with the FAA in particular, Musk has sort of acted like he is, again, above the government, above the civilian government of the United States of America. His company Tesla has opened investigations into his debt collection and very likely predatory loans. And then there is significant questions about decisions that Musk has made on the international scene. Now, the fact of the matter is, because Trump and him have waged war on the vast majority of these agencies, they are either weakened in their ability to follow through investigations. And let's just be really clear about this. Let's put our cards on the table. Why am I particularly worried or engaged in what the Department of Agriculture is doing or what the FAA is doing? Right? It's not like David Griscom is, generally getting outraged about an FAA investigation into, this company or that company. The reason that this bothers me is that we supposedly live in a democracy. And in a democracy, the people have the ability to check the rich and the powerful. Now, look, y'all know me. I ain't some, this isn't my first rodeo, right? I know what American society is. But when you see somebody flaunt our rules and our ability to govern the rich and the powerful, it is an evacuation. We are watching an evacuation of the very democratic promise of self-government, of popular government, of democratic government, because what this says very clearly is that, hey, if you're rich enough, you can get away with whatever you want, right? And look, again, we know what American democracy is. I don't care if there has been corruption before. I don't care if sometimes these rulings are unequal and unfair. What I care about is what we're seeing right now, which is an extreme example of that same corruption. So yeah, do these things happen all the time? Sure. This is a flaunting at another level that very much threatens the entire project of democratic government if people are able to so nakedly buy their way out of the rule of the rest of us. And this is the kind of message that I want to remind not just our audience, but just people in general, right? Regardless if you like Musk or if you like Trump, I would like to live in a country. I would like to live in a country where the rule of the people is stronger than the whims of billionaires, right? Call me old fashioned. And what we are seeing right here, what this is a very clear example of, is a democratic system floundering and failing at its very, very core.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but can we indulge a little bit more blame Obama for a split second when it comes to this? This is a little news piece from, I believe, 2009. Let me get the volume up here.
And many others on Capitol Hill say the U.S. should start developing a giant new rocket right away. But President Obama's new space policy holds firmly to the themes he spoke of in a Kennedy Space Center speech.
Yes, pursuing this new strategy will require that we revise the old strategy. In part, this is because the old strategy, including the Constellation program, was not fulfilling its promise in many ways.
The president's goals outlined today in the newly released policy are to expand international cooperation, working with other countries to explore space.
Sounds nice.
And to invest in and nurture the space industry.
Ooh.
By space industry, the president does not mean workers currently in it. such as the thousands working on the shuttle in Florida, Alabama, Texas, and other states. They're being laid off. The president means new companies, such as SpaceX, which just launched its new Falcon 9 rocket from the Cape. The new
There was a debate that was going on about 15 years ago. I remember people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye participating in it. I
Mhm.
think in this wrong direction of let's privatize this stuff. Let's let all of these capitalists decide when and where stuff gets sent up to the moon. And that was the wrong choice. Just like it was
Mhm.
a wrong choice to put the bankers above homeowners. Like these things have consequences.
Yeah. I mean, look, these people from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. I mean, sold out American democracy so clearly, so nakedly, that many people not only don't believe in it, can't even be convinced to, maybe engage in it anymore. And you can't really blame folks for that. And you are seeing right now, I think, very clearly the consequences of that, which I think are more extreme than all of those politicians a decade plus ago thought they would be. Right? They just thought that that might mean that, hey, maybe there won't be kind of popular upsurge politics, right? And Chase Bank can get its way. I don't think that they were prepared for what was going to happen. Was that a rich South African was effectively going to buy the United States government to protect himself from base, by the way, very basic oversight. This is not these cases against Musk, they're not egregious, right? This is just very much like, do you have a functioning economy that has very basic rules of the road, regulations on what you can do to human beings, what you can do to the environment, what you can do to animals, right? What you can do to investors, right? This is basic stuff. And he wants to be above it. He wants to live like a lord.
Yeah.
Um, and people should take that threat seriously.
And give us credit for basically banging this fucking cowbell for like
Oh my
7 years
God.
at this point.
Don't you understand, Matt, Michael, David? Don't you understand? Elon Musk is actually working so hard to save the planet from climate change. You might not like everything that he says.
It was just God. That was nonstop. It was every week on this program and on TMBS, and those people were wrong. The worst thing about this job is you could be right all the time, and you never get rewarded for it. But
I,
what?
s- I saw somebody say, "Do you think Elon is really going on these 3-hour podcasts for public relations?" Yeah, idiot. Like, of course he's doing it because people like you think they're getting the full story. When what you could do is just look at headlines about his actual goddamn company, right? Maybe or even like lawsuits filed by his worker. You don't need 3 hours with Lex Friedman talking about some bullshit that he's never actually going to achieve. It's wild.
Yeah. Well, folks, we're going to go over the post game, patreon.com/left reckoning to get access to it. We got a lot. We got a lot to get to. We have some fun video.
More
We'll
Elon.
more Elon. Maybe somebody wrote an interesting article about me. Maybe we'll respond to it. We'll see. But folks, we couldn't do it without all of you and your support. So if you haven't already joined up and supported the show, patreon.com/left reckoning. We got a lot of really exciting stuff coming down in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to be talking to Eric Blanc soon about union organizing, a little bit of a theme of this program, if you ever noticed, and much more in the near future. So come over, hang out with us. We'll be up there about 10 minutes or so.